I was an outcast during lunch breaks in the world. However, I had a dream where I fell in love with 10 beautiful individuals for 1,000 years. I initially thought it was just a dream, but the following day, I was successively proposed to by 10 saints of the empire. They were highly skilled in martial arts and had unparalleled beauty. Each of them caused a sensation wherever they went. However, they were now gathered together to compete for the title of the rightful wife. The imperial men began brainstorming with me, and it all started with a dream bead. I had obtained this pig in my previous life, and by chance, it had crossed over to this place with me. I hadn't seen it for decades until yesterday when it suddenly became active. It burrowed into my forehead and disappeared, taking me into a dream. In this dream, I met and fell in love with the 10 great saints. We stayed together for 1,000 years after entering the marriage hall. Eventually, I fulfilled my family's wishes, and one of the empire's top 10 martial gods. When I woke up from the dream, I couldn't remember anything about the previous night. I only knew it was a long and distant dream. The 10 beauties were also shocked upon waking up. Everything from the dream remained crystal clear in their minds. Their cultivation had also greatly improved after waking up. As I recalled what had happened with Shanggong, a respectful term for husband, in the dream, the 10 beauties' faces suddenly burst into flames. They then vanished into thin air, heading towards Xingyu City where I was. At that moment, the city was bustling because it was the auspicious day of my engagement. My fiancée, Lu Shiyu, was the city's first daughter. Despite being only 15 years old, she had already reached the Zan Street Kowloon level of cultivation. Although I held a noble status as the young lord of the city lord's mansion, I had yet to achieve any significant progress in cultivation. As a result, our marriage was not blessed. During the engagement banquet, Lu Shiyu unexpectedly walked to the center of everyone and announced the dissolution of our marriage, stating that her personality was incompatible with mine. This declaration shocked the audience, and Lu Shiyu's father, Wenyan, was furious. He accused Lu Fu of calculating and intentionally insulting their family. In response, Lu Fu dismissed any filial obligation, claiming that it was Lu Shiyu's own choice, and he had no right to interfere. This further enraged Father Wenyan, who clenched his fists in anger. Lu Tianxiang, however, maintained a smile and mentioned that marrying the prince would ruin Lu Shiyu's life due to his known lack of cultivation qualifications. The revelation that Lu Shiyu had previously been accepted by the great elder of the Yunshan sect caused a stir. The Yunshan sect was a powerful mid-grade sect, and becoming one of its disciples was a significant opportunity. It was evident that the Lu family's withdrawal from the marriage was a calculated move to announce their impending rise while isolating the city lord's mansion. Amidst the tension, the great elder of the Yunshan sect spoke, assuring everyone that Lu Shiyu's future would be secured. While I felt anger, I restrained myself, aware that provoking a 9-heavy martial sect expert like him could have dire consequences for my family. Suddenly, a loud sound echoed in the sky, drawing everyone's attention. A young woman gracefully descended from the air. She possessed an impressive figure, tall and slender, with seductive beauty. Her face was now filled with icy fury and boundless anger. As tension escalated, a strong surge of power filled the air, making it difficult for those around to breathe. Everyone speculated on who the woman referred to as the project might be. The great elder of the Yunshan sect stepped forward, intending to shield everyone from further harm. He respectfully asked the woman about her identity and her relationship with the person she called Shanggong husband. The woman, however, did not answer the question. Instead, she locked her icy gaze onto the great elder and rhetorically asked if he had humiliated her project earlier. Then, she turned her attention to me and flashed a sweet smile, assuring me that she would help me regain my dignity and seek justice. Her delicate voice sent shivers down everyone's spines, causing yet another uproar. It became evident that the Shanggong she referred to was the waste young master, which surprised both of my parents and left me confused. I questioned the woman, wondering if she had mistaken me for someone else, but she gave me a seductive look and stated that her own husband would never admit his mistake. She then pointed her finger at the great elder, asking if he was the one who had insulted me. The great elder of the Yunshan sect's brows furrowed slightly, showing a hint of anger, but he managed to contain himself. He realized that the woman's aura was untouchable and chose not to provoke her until he understood her background. Suddenly, Lu Shiyu interjected, suggesting that the woman might have mistaken the person and explaining that I hadn't even been born by the age of 16. She emphasized that I was the waste she had previously disengaged from. The woman's fury instantly intensified upon hearing Lu Shiyu's words. She stared at Lu Shiyu with cold eyes, as if looking at a dead person, and demanded that she kneel down and apologize to her project. She warned that her forgiveness meant life, while her refusal meant death. The woman ridiculed Lu Shiyu for daring to call her a public waste and thinking she was worthy of disengaging from their membership. To everyone's shock, a crisp sound echoed through the restaurant as the woman slapped Lu Shiyu, causing her to fall to the ground with a bright red handprint on her face. Blood trickled from the corner of Lu Shiyu's mouth. The woman coldly asserted her dominance, stating that she would make Lu Shiyu kneel and dared anyone to talk back to her. Terrified, everyone retreated, fearing the audacity of this woman who showed no respect even to the great elder of the Yunshan sect. Lahua, with teary eyes, pleaded to the great elder for severe punishment, hoping to uphold the sect's prestige. Caught in a dilemma, the great elder understood that the woman's strength far surpassed his own. Although he hadn't seen her attack clearly, he didn't want to damage the reputation of the Yunshan sect. Challenging the woman's dismissive attitude, the great elder released an imposing pressure, overwhelming those nearby as if a massive boulder weighed on their chests. The onlookers were astonished and anticipated the woman's immediate defeat, thinking that provoking the great elder could lead to dire consequences. However, the woman laughed in response and belittled the great elder, considering the Yunshan sect's status as a mere mid-grade sect insignificant. The great elder, no longer able to tolerate her disrespect, let out a frustrated sigh and exerted an even more powerful pressure. People whispered among themselves, silently expressing their concerns. They realized that today might be the day this woman meets her downfall, as provoking the great elder could lead to dire consequences. In response, I furrowed my brows and addressed the woman, urging her to leave since this matter didn't concern her. Upon hearing my words, the woman smiled back and boldly declared, "You are my father-in-law." As the situation unfolded, it became clear that no one could humiliate the woman. I was at a loss for words, while my mother's admiration for her grew. She wished for the woman to become our daughter-in-law, but my father cautioned her against speaking thoughtlessly. He then turned his attention to the woman and advised her to leave peacefully to maintain our family's reputation. The woman looked at my father with a slight smile, reassuring him that he couldn't harm her. I also chimed in, reminding my father that she was the great elder of the Yunshan sect and possessed formidable strength, being at the 9th level of the heavenly realm. To everyone's surprise, the woman waved her small fist and confidently declared that she was awesome, addressing me as her Shanggong husband. Upon hearing this, the great elder burst into laughter, amused by the woman's audacity and challenging her to show her abilities. He believed that she dared to disrespect the Yunshan sect and was not putting them in her eyes. The great elder's momentum surged once again as he unleashed the Yunshan sect's peerless technique, the Yunshan hand. A gigantic bloody hand emerged and swiftly reached for the woman. However, just as the attack was about to connect, the woman's figure remained motionless. In the blink of an eye, she evaded the attack effortlessly, leaving the audience in awe of her terrifying strength. The great elder was shocked and realized that, except for the sect master who had reached the martial venerable realm, no one had ever effortlessly neutralized his attack. It was now the woman's turn to take action. Her eyes started glowing red as she commanded the great elder to kneel before her. Helpless, the great elder locked eyes with the woman, but it was too late to escape her influence. Confusion overcame him, and he fell to his knees. The onlookers couldn't believe their eyes, witnessing the great elder kneeling willingly. I expressed my surprise at the situation, wondering if the woman's words carried such weight. She turned to me with a sweet smile on her face and stated that words alone weren't enough to determine fairness. When I curiously inquired about her abilities, she teasingly asked if I wanted to experience them firsthand. Glancing at the still kneeling great elder, I couldn't help but shudder and hastily declined her offer. The great elder regained his senses and slowly stood up with Lu Shiyu's assistance. His face displayed a mixture of anger and fear as he demanded to know the woman's identity. He had a suspicion in his heart, but he couldn't fathom how someone from that place could appear in the little new universe. The woman's eyes narrowed, and she sternly asked the great elder who gave him permission to stand. Even though the great elder was on guard, he succumbed to her power and fell to his knees once again. Turning her gaze towards me, the woman laughed and blamed the smelly old man for bullying her project. Frustrated and forgetting to introduce herself, the woman finally revealed her name as Yu Sha from the Tianyu Holy Land. This revelation caused everyone to gasp in astonishment. The woman was a disciple of the prestigious Tianyu Holy Land, explaining her lack of fear towards the Yunshan sect. The loss was deeply emotional, and the great elder unleashed a hysterical roar, accusing her of impersonating a disciple of the Tianyu Holy Land and threatening her with death. The great elder couldn't comprehend how Waste, who had been divorced by herself, could have any connection to the people of the Tianyu Holy Land. Yu Sha looked at me, shaking her head with a smile. She pointed out that I was her fiancé, jokingly mentioning that my brain wasn't functioning properly at the moment. She questioned who in the Great Sha Empire would dare to impersonate her, Yu Sha. The recently awakened great elder heard her name and instantly collapsed on the ground in fear. Yu Sha, the leftover daughter of Tianyu, carried immense weight. While others might not fully grasp the significance, as the great elder of the Yunshan sect, he knew exactly who she was. The Tianyu Holy Land was most likely to produce the next Holy Lord, and even the Yunshan sect master, Qingqi, didn't dare to provoke them further. Lu Shiyu, unable to accept this reality, couldn't fathom how that Waste could know the Lady of the Heavenly Lake. In an instant, a crisp slap echoed through the air. This time, it wasn't a hoarse scream. It was the great elder himself who had made the mistake. The grand elder of the Cloud Mountain sect, Mu Ke, snorted and walked forward, expressing his respect to Yu Sha. He acknowledged his past offenses and pleaded with Yu Sha not to hold it against him. Meanwhile, the great elder directed his attention towards Lu Shiyu, demanding that she kneel and apologize to me, Sha Feng. Reluctantly, Lu Shiyu clenched her fists, her face displaying immense displeasure. She eventually knelt down, apologizing to both me and Li Kai. She turned her head to Yu Sha and expressed her gratitude, calling her virgin. Yu Sha, with her snow-white jade hand, lightly tapped my forehead, causing a sweet smile to form on my face. She commented on my elm head, but expressed her fondness for it. Suddenly, Yu Sha casually took hold of my arm, leaning her body against mine. She pointed out the presence of many guests, including uncles and aunts, and suggested that we shouldn't let them go to waste. She proposed taking advantage of the engagement banquet to make the most of the occasion. However, just as her words trailed off, the atmosphere in the room turned icy. An authoritative voice rang out, demanding that she release her hold on her husband.